Good morning, everyone. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the 22nd day of August 2018. I believe it's a Wednesday. I don't know, it's so smoky, I'm not sure anymore. So blessings to all the wildland firefighters that are out there, all of the hot shots and all the folks just trying to save their homes and all of this mess that we seem to have every summer. I have people that I'm friends with on Twitter that are, giving fire updates around their home, how smoky it is, and whether or not it's close to them or not. We've been real blessed. I mean, we just get the smoke. We're not in any real danger here where we are. Although it's not that, if a fire broke out, there's a lot of juniper around here. So, they're pretty explosive. So whenever you have fire here on the high desert, you're going to have, both lodgepole pine and ponderosa pine. If it's up, a little higher up into the mountain areas, or a little further south from us, you'll have that. But around here, you have juniper and sage, and juniper has juniper oil in it. And first time we ever burned, it was our first year here. We moved here on Valentine's Day, so there's snow on the ground back in 1981. And this first summer we were here, everybody burns their field and whatnot, gets it ready for growing. And so we did the same, and we were burning an area where it was a garden spot, getting that all ready. And a little juniper tree caught. It was just a small one, but that thing literally exploded, and with all the oil that's in it. And if you've ever seen tires burning, it creates that black smoke that's thick. Well, so do juniper trees. And the other thing about it around here, you have to be careful when you're burning, because if you burn up next to them, the fire can go down into the ground. There's usually a real thick layer of juniper leaves and debris on the ground beneath them. And so fire can actually travel underground and get to that root system and go up into the trees. So you have to be really careful around here when if you have property and you're doing any burning around it. You have to be very, very careful, because a lot of unexpected things can happen, when your back's turned. You think it's out, but it isn't. So you have to be really careful. So I feel for everyone in this situation. It's not fun. Central Oregon pretty much deals with this every single year, every summer. But of late, you get it from Canada, we get it from Washington, we get it from California, even if we're not on fire. So, but let's count 13 and see what we have for today. Oh, we have the 8 of Pentacles. Now, 8 is about practical matters. It's not a number that I really, really relate to too well. I guess it's not catalytic enough for me or something. But what strikes me about this is what you have here is a man engaged in his craft. And he's building his wealth. He's building his legacy. So in a sense, 8 is about manifestation. It's also about protection and practical matters, as I said. And Pentacles is all about that. Pentacles is all about our physical presence in the world, our physical manifestation. It's about our wealth. It's about our survival here in form. This guy's working very diligently, carving, the pentagram into the plate that he's working on. So he's staying true to his purpose, isn't he? Sometimes the even numbers are viewed in, well, to me, it's about exponential, unfolding spiritual growth. To me, that's what the even numbers are more about. It's more about how we relate, maybe self in the world, but then you get the odd numbers, which are more about, I think, conflict potentially, and how we invoke our will into the world. Um, Pentacles always seems to be more about being settled and just taking care of business. And that's really what this guy's doing for today. When I first really started getting into tarot, when I started buying different decks and not just using this particular um, one of the ones I was really drawn to was the Thoth Tarot by Crowley. I don't know why. Everyone who has said, yeah, who does tarot is like, oh no, I don't like that one. I can't relate to that one at all because it's completely different. You know, I'll show you here. Let me get out the big deck I've got. Well, here, let me open this up so things don't fall out. Well, maybe that needs to fall out. Okay. You know how you cram something in a drawer and every time you open it, it just falls everywhere. So that's what I did. I put some Post-it notes in there and it's just everywhere now. So let me see if I can find this one. But like this is the Queen of Swords in Crowley's tarot. You know, you can see it's nothing like what, you know, a traditional deck would do. But and so for me, I like to view these cards from that standpoint, from Crowley's, you know, I don't know why. It seems kind of silly at this point, but I just wonder if I can find that here really quickly. If I can't, oh, here we go. No, that's the Eight of Wands. But here, you know, they're showing the Eight of Wands would be swiftness. You can see energy flowing in all different directions. But that's the Eight. It's like, to me, as you build, you know, from 2 to 4 to 6, you know, 6 is about spiritual, about the higher self invoked into the world. It's just, I want to find that though, because it really shows you the difference. Well, here we have 8 of discs, and it shows the difference. You see, it's basically you're showing the growth upward, and that's what we're showing here. And I like to think of the even numbers as spiritual growth within. And so this guy's just really focused on that, isn't he? And he's focused on building his legacy, but it's not just legacy that's building for himself. You can see the town in the distance. He's really working on this for the whole, for all of humanity even, or at least his village, or maybe just his family, but it's not just for himself. And so it's basically a service to others uh, situation going on here. And oh, and that's one thing I wanted to say, and I put this on the video yesterday. Toward the end, I was talking about service to self and service to others, and I said service to self when I meant service to others, so I'm sorry about that. Sometimes, you know, the mouth gets away. So anyhow, I'm going to set this over here. But you can see how it's different cards will express this differently, but it's about being able to plan for the future and seeing the bigger picture and allowing for something greater than yourself is essentially what this means. And basically, you know, when you're doing that, you're really it's about protection, isn't it? It's about protecting that legacy and protecting what we've built. So when I see the Eight of Pentacles, to me, it's about continuing that process, about being able to see things that are not just about the self. So maybe, you know, even numbered cards would be more about that, and the odd numbered cards would be more about how you interact with yourself, you know, yourself into all of that. So, you know, that's probably the polarity within the numbers, you know. You might say it's a passive versus an active presence, or a receptive versus a projective presence. You know, in polarity terms, we talk about masculine and feminine, so I don't know. But today we have Ansu's, which is Odin's rune. It's the 4th rune of the Elder Futhark. It means communication, only basically soul communication. So you're talking about alignment and higher self-presence. But it's also, you know, where we get our inspiration, where we focus our thought patterns, you know, How are we invoking our thoughts into material form, you know? So clearly his thoughts are about the future, his thoughts are about others, not just himself. I mean, he's so focused on the one thing, he's doesn't it doesn't even matter, does it? This is his purpose. And it's about others. It's not just about him. But being Odin's rune, it has an extra bit of power to it, doesn't it? But it's about there could be a message involved. There could be increasing spiritual consciousness, about gaining wisdom. It's the mind rune. It brings clarity and it allows us to look at all angles. But it also helps us to channel the higher self energies and have higher self inform the process. So clearly, what we have here is higher self is informing this guy. He's saying, look, it's not just about you, that there's the greater unified presence, and you have to take care of that. That's just interesting. Let's pull another card. I love ansus. You can magically you can chant ansus to in your meditations when you're aligning yourself. You can visualize that connection with source, opening up and informing you, bringing that remembrance of who you are into your life. It's I don't understand that other side of it that thinks only of themselves, that's the service to self side of things. I mean, I get that that's part of the polarity and part of the balance. You're going to have a certain number of folks that are going to take one over the other, but it's got to be at some point terribly lonely, because it doesn't, if there is an awareness of others, if there is a concern for others, it just seems to benefit them more than anything. It's like people that are, addicted to causes. Sometimes it's not really the cause, it's the energy of the cause that they're looking for. And so you notice a commitment, but not the same emotional level that other people that are really, that this is their thing, this is their cause that they're so passionate about. So I guess maybe that's what's missing, the passion for others, for this something greater than themselves. But really, it's not about that for them. It's about what they're going to get out of it instead of what they can give to the situation. So. Well, I drew another eight, so I guess I don't know. It's like get the eight in your head. But this is the Eight of Cups, and this is done several ways in different tarot decks, but um, most of the traditional ones show you walking away from emotions that no longer serve you. The cups are, well, let's see if I can get a light on here better. You've got five cups on the ground and three stacked on top of them, sort of, there's nothing that's really in balance. And you see the individual that's cloaked. Um, they're cloaked in a red boots and a red cape, and they're using a staff to walk. And so they need a little bit of support. So they're not quite done, are they? But they've decided that, the moon's up there, and, we're just going to have some change here today. We're going to move away from what no longer serves us, and we're just going to move on to something else. And so basically, we're moving away from emotional, I don't know, drama maybe, and we're realizing that kind of stuff is just not working. It doesn't help the situation. You get so caught up in your emotions that you can't see the forest for the trees, basically. Whereas this guy, you can see this particular eight. is saying, look, it's time to focus, you know. So maybe we've experienced, you know, some emotional loss or what have you, and it's like, okay, we need to get focused. We're moving toward maybe even something that is a greater experience. You see the mountains rising in the background. And so when you see that oftentimes in tarot, it means maybe a grand experience or perhaps challenges that you have. And here, walking toward that means that this person has left behind the drama and is not afraid of the challenge ahead. And because at the end of the day, we've spent our time building our legacy. So whatever we might be in, you know, dealing with emotion wise, the answer is just to go out and do something that is productive and positive. You know, we can get involved in the pity party, can't we? We can get caught up in all the emotions of what's going on in the world too. But at the end of the day, sometimes you just got to go out and you know, pull a weed or two and do something that's productive, that doesn't have anything to do with the drama that's going on around you or anything else. And so that, I think, is probably the focus of today is you know, yesterday there was some exciting things that happened in the news, you know, and everybody's sitting back to see what's going to happen from all of it. You know, who is going to react to it this way? Who's going to react to it that way? You know, what will be this person's reaction? And we're all caught up. Well, we have to come back to reality because there's very little of that in the short term that affects us in our day. So for me, you know, that means that instead of, you know, my eyes glued to the TV, to the news channels, my eyes should be glued to my gardens outside. And so, you know, hopefully the smoke will clear somewhat today and I can get back out there because I've got my herb garden is a nightmare. It's just gone crazy. So in any event, I think that's what this is just saying, you know, we just need to get back to it. And the rest of this stuff, there's things in place that will deal with it all. And we just need to get back to our lives and get back to our work and get back to what matters, and to let go of all the emotional stuff and let higher self inform, instead of spending our time letting um, all of the nonsense in the world, you know, being what informs our day and informs our moods. Yesterday, we decided to just go and go out and get some shopping done. And my husband was like, I have to turn the TV off. I can't watch this anymore. It's too much. I'm getting so upset. I need a break. And I said, well, let's go to the store. You know, we forgot a couple things the other day. Let's just go. And so we did. And it was nice just to get out away from all of the other stuff. You know, traffic was nutty and of course there was smoke everywhere, but still it was nice to just disengage and go back to the normal stuff that we do during the day. And that may be the biggest test of all is how do we all remain normal amidst all of this chaos? Um, so hopefully it won't last too much longer. And we can all get back to the business of building things instead of tearing them down all the time. So in any event, thanks so much for stopping by. And we'll be back again tomorrow and we'll talk a little more about tarot and runes and anything else that we might want to, you know, comes up in the world in the meantime. But in any event, hopefully we won't know too much about that because we'll be out pulling weeds and planting things and tending to our gardens and all of that. So all the things that we're building for our lives today. So again, thanks for watching. I'm Jan Erickson with Stepping Aside. Check out the blog at imsteppingaside.com. And have a lovely day. Blessed be.